Preston Cole wasn't a man of riches, but he was a man of principles. His Dodge Challenger was more than just a car. It was his trophy of discipline, patience, and countless years of hard work. Every weekend he polished its metallic shine with pride, not because it was luxury, but because it was proof that perseverance could build something real. But one morning, the sound inside his house wasn't the gentle hum of the Challenger's engine. It was the crash of a glass shattering against the kitchen tiles. Preston rushed inside to find his wife, Marissa, lying unconscious, her skin pale, her breath shallow. Panic gripped his chest as he dropped to his knees, shaking her shoulders. "Marissa, stay with me," he shouted, his voice trembling as he dialed 911. Red and blue ambulance lights flooded the street as paramedics carried her limp body away. Preston rode beside her, clutching her hand tightly, whispering her name like a prayer. Hours later, a doctor appeared, clipboard in hand, his expression grim. "Her heart condition is severe. She needs immediate surgery. Insurance will only cover part of the cost." Preston's world collapsed. He had no inheritance, no hidden savings. The only thing of value he owned was the Dodge Challenger, his pride, his joy, his symbol of success. By nightfall, it was gone. Under fluorescent dealership lights, he signed the papers, each stroke of his pen carving pain into his chest. At the hospital cashier's window, he pushed the envelope of cash forward. That night, as Marissa lay pale under machines that beeped steadily, Preston leaned close and whispered, "You're worth more than anything I own." The surgery stretched through the night. Dawn broke with the doctor's smile. She had survived. Relief burned through Preston's body like fire. For him, love had conquered despair. At first, Marissa seemed grateful. She cooked his favorite dinners, laughed at his silly jokes, and leaned on his shoulder as they watched TV. But slowly, gratitude faded. Her eyes wandered toward neighbors' shiny SUVs, handbags displayed in boutiques, and the glittering world on her phone screen. She began dressing differently. Designer blouses, expensive perfume, hair styled as though she were heading to a gala. "Meeting friends?" she would say, slipping into heels that clicked against the porch steps like a countdown. Preston noticed small details. A bracelet on her wrist he had never seen, a receipt in her purse from an upscale restaurant. And most of all, the way she said Travis with warmth that had long vanished from her voice when she spoke of him. One night, Preston overheard her on the phone. "He sold his car. Pathetic. He has nothing left. I can't waste my life with a man who has nothing to offer." The word shattered him. The plate he held slipped from his hand, glass breaking in the sink. That night he lay beside her in silence, staring at the ceiling as she laughed softly at the glow of her phone. Weeks later, the truth walked into his bedroom. Marissa packed her suitcase. "I can't live with a man who has nothing left," she said flatly. "Travis can give me the life I deserve." Preston didn't beg. He didn't cry. He only watched as she dragged her suitcase to the waiting car outside. Travis Green stood tall in his tailored suit, smirk plastered across his face, neighbors peeking from behind curtains. Marissa never looked back. The Challenger was gone. His wife was gone. Everything he had given, wasted. But what she didn't know was that destiny had already written a twist far greater than betrayal. One stormy night, rain poured over Austin streets. Preston, clutching client ledgers to his chest, trudged home on foot. At an intersection, tires screeched. A black Cadillac skidded across the lane, slammed into a lamppost, and crumpled like paper. Without hesitation, Preston sprinted forward. The windshield was shattered, the hood steaming. Inside was an older man, unconscious, blood dripping from his forehead. Preston yanked the jammed door open, dragged him out, shielding him from the rain just as sparks hissed beneath the hood. He stayed with him until the ambulance arrived. He followed to the hospital. He couldn't explain why, but something tethered him to the stranger. 3 days later, the man awoke. His name, Edward Langston, one of the wealthiest businessmen in Texas. Edward's eyes fell on the pendant around Preston's neck. His voice rasped with shock. "Where did you get that necklace?" Preston touched it instinctively. It was his mother's dying gift, something she claimed belonged to his father. Edward demanded a DNA test. 2 days later, truth thundered through Preston's life. "You are my son." The billionaire who built an empire had finally found his heir. Preston, once abandoned and humiliated, was suddenly recognized as Edward Langston's blood. Edward brought Preston into his world. From cracked sidewalks to marble floors, Preston stepped into boardrooms where executives rose at his presence. The whispers silenced when Edward declared, "He is my son. He will inherit my name." Preston buried himself in work, learning numbers, contracts, and strategies. But one file froze him in his tracks, signed repeatedly by one man, Travis Green. The very man who had stolen his wife was a senior manager in Langston Corporation. Preston took the file to Edward. "That man, he's the reason my wife left me." Edward's expression hardened. "Then let's see what kind of man he really is." An audit began. Hidden accounts surfaced, fraudulent transfers, embezzlement. Within weeks, Travis was exposed. On Friday, the boardroom doors opened. Travis walked in, wearing arrogance like a crown. But when the evidence lay before him, his confidence cracked. Two uniformed officers entered. Cuffs snapped around his wrists. His smirk vanished as his eyes locked with Preston's, fear replacing arrogance. Preston said nothing. Justice had spoken louder than words. Within weeks, Travis's empire crumbled. His accounts frozen, his mansion seized, his cars repossessed. Reporters captured his downfall and photographs splashed across headlines. Senior executive arrested in Langston scandal. The man who once stole Preston's wife now stood in court, shackled and disgraced. And Marissa? She watched it all. The glamorous life she chose disintegrated into cheap motel rooms and second-hand suitcases. Travis, once her savior, now scribbled desperate notes for lawyers, his voice filled with curses. Meanwhile, Preston's face appeared in newspapers, heir to Edward Langston, photographed in tailored suits, seated beside his father at charity galas. He looked steady, untouchable, untamed by betrayal. One morning, Marissa stood at the iron gates of the Langston estate, mascara streaked with tears. Reporters' cameras flashed as she pleaded with the guards. "Tell him it's me. Tell Preston it's Marissa, please. I just need to talk to him." From the balcony above, Preston watched. The same woman he had once saved, the same woman he had sold his car to protect, now knelt outside his gates, broken and desperate. He didn't move. He didn't speak. He simply turned away. Marissa's sobs echoed across the street as neighbors slowed their cars to witness her humiliation. Edward Langston appeared beside Preston. She traded loyalty for greed. Let her live with that choice. Preston's jaw tightened. He gave no answer. He didn't need to. The gates never opened. Marissa was left outside, on her knees, with nothing but regret.